Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast.
It's the scariest horror podcast on this side of the Black Lagoon. Screams from the Basement discusses the best double features the genre has to offer.
We also interview the industry's finest that make our screams become nightmares. I am one of your creepy co-hosts. I'm Casey the Killer Kelderman.
I'm Sam the Damned, and let's get screaming.
Let's get screaming as we are talking about 28 days later, 28 weeks later, as we are leading up to the release of 28 years later, this Friday, as this episode comes out in theaters now. Sam, we're talking the revitalization of the zombie movie today is really what we're doing.
The revitalization and the tired retread.
All in one.
I almost changed the intro to we discussed the okayest double features the genre has to offer, because I'll be honest, I was in for the first half of this double feature. The second half lost me, man.
I'm in for most of this double feature.
Yeah.
We have similar problems with one of these movies. And we'll talk about that. But I want to talk about this franchise, where we're at, what this franchise did in the early 2000s. Because the first movie comes out in 2002, 28 days later. 28 weeks later comes out 5 years later, 2007. So in 2002, the zombie genre, the infected genre, is done. It's dead in the water.
Yeah, no one's doing zombie movies anymore.
The last big zombie movie I can think of was the Night of the Living Dead remake, and that was 90.
The Savini one, yeah. And that was 90.
That was 90. 12 years.
I don't think that one did particularly well anyways. So, really, the last time we probably had a zombie movie that genuinely made waves might have been Day of the Dead from George Romero in, 85.
Yeah. So, the zombie genre for probably 15 years at this point was dead in the water. Then we get Alex Garland and Danny Boyle coming together to create 28 Days Later, which really, the zombie...
jump-started.
Yeah, the zombie genre owes so much to this. I think as much as it owes to the Romero films. I think that trilogy really is the godfather to zombie movies. And then this one comes in and just brings new life to zombie movies altogether. Because you look at what came out after 28 Days Later, you get the Dawn of the Dead remake, you get Shaun of the Dead afterwards, you get all the zomcoms that came out, Zombieland, Warm Bodies, you get The Walking Dead, which literally just rips off most of this movie in its pilot episode.
Oh, yeah. Literally, the comic, which, the first season of the show is a fairly, faithful adaptation to at least those first few issues of the comic. And the comic came out the year after this movie, and the similarities are striking to the point where I'm like, how did Robert Kirkman not get sued for this series? Because it's weird. Full disclosure, I thought I had seen both of these movies. I realized about 20 minutes into the first movie that I had not seen it, but just specific scenes from it that had scared the shit out of me. I think this movie, like you said, it revitalized it. I'm trying to think of a good comparison as far as crime movies go. You've got something like The Godfather that comes out that's largely considered one of the best organized crime movies ever, right? And then Goodfellas comes out in the early 90s and starts a whole new wave of that shit. And I almost feel like the 28 Days Later is the Goodfellas of zombie movies, where it's someone comes along decades later and makes another classic that redefines and pushes that genre forward and then spawns a bunch of like really bad
It's
imitations.
Halloween and Scream. I think that
Yeah,
might be the most
yeah,
apt comparison.
that's a great comparison.
Because,
Yeah,
yeah, Halloween comes in, everybody wants to make
a
slasher movies
slasher,
until they don't. Then Scream comes out.
and then
Everyone wants to make slasher movies, and we're still, that really didn't let up that whole a whole lot since the 90s.
and to even further that, I feel like the second wave got stale quicker than the first wave.
For both of
If
them.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
For both of them. Yeah, for both slashers and for zombie movies.
But we're still in the zombie.
Oh, we still are. And
think
we're
we've
still
come
in
out
a
of
slasher
it. Yeah.
boom. We're still in like a big slasher boom. And I think where both of those subgenres have kind of found, like, continue to find at least some sort of freshness is in making them comedies now. Like, I don't feel like we get as many serious zombie movies or serious slashers anymore because, like, a lot of them have a comedic bent to them. I will be really interested. We're recording this before 28 Years Later has even hit theaters. So neither of us have seen it. We have plans to see it. We're very excited. I'm curious because 28 Years Later looks like it's going to be a very serious movie just from all the marketing, from all the, just the series it's in. I'm really interested to see what it does new with the genre because I don't think Alex Garland's coming back. I don't think he's coming back to write and direct this thing unless he has something bold that he is going to do. Because he like his stuff or not, he is a bold filmmaker.
Yeah, the reviews as we're recording this have just dropped. Like the embargo just dropped. It's getting really good reviews and people saying it might be the best of the 28 movies. Is what I'm seeing for some of them.
Yet.
Yeah,
my god. How is it going to top Days? Like, seriously, I don't know.
But again, so history on these, my personal history with both of these movies. I have seen both of these before one time, and it was in high school. Me and a bunch of buddies got together, and I remember it was during a sleepover. So, like, parents were out of town. We just stayed back and just watched movies all weekend. And these were two of them that we put on. It was 28 days later and then 28 weeks later. And that was probably 2012.
Okay.
So, well over 10 years ago that I have last seen these. And I had these movies mixed up in terms of certain plot points between the two. So, like, I thought the third act of Days happened in the third act of Weeks, and I just had them all confused. So it was nice to revisit both of these and have a new appreciation for both of them.
That's interesting because I had elements of the openings of both of these movies kind of melded together. Having not seen, I genuinely, there was so much of both of these movies that I had never seen before. But like they were kind of so prevalent back when we were growing up that you had to have at least seen parts of them. So I don't know if that was
ripped off in other zombie movies or television shows. Yeah.
And I mean, I remember all the trailers and the advertisement, and I remember the fast zombies being like a focal point, and that just being fucking terrifying. As like, I don't know, I was 9 when the first one came out. I was, I don't know, I can't do math. 14 when the next one did. Yeah, and I remember the fast zombies being a thing. I remember, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead coming
had
hot on
the
the
fast
heels.
zombies in
Yeah,
that.
of this, and like,
World War Z had fast zombies, right?
World War Z, which World War Z, I don't think it reaches the heights of like some of the best zombie movies, but I do find that one pretty underrated in the grand context of things.
I just want a Pepsi whenever I see that movie. Because that product placement in that movie is egregious.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Anyway, Sam, are you ready to jump into 28 Days Later?
Yeah.
All right.
Let me,
Directed by Danny Boyle. Coming right off Trainspotting. Written by Alex Garland. Sam, what is the plot synopsis for 28 Days Later?
An animal rights activist group fucks humanity by releasing a murderous chimp with a deadly virus. 28 days later, a ridiculously attractive bicycle courier, cruelly named Jim, wakes up from a coma to a very different world where people don't trust one another and a virus has turned people into rage-filled maniacs out for blood. This movie was somehow made in 2002 and hasn't lost a single bit of potency.
28 days later.
I was writing this, and as I was writing it, I'm like, am I writing a plot synopsis or a current event report? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. You and I talked about a little bit off air about both of these movies. And one of the biggest things I noticed while watching 28 Days Later again was this movie was shot I think it was shot in '01. Because
Yeah, it was shot in '01.
halfway through filming is when 9/11 happened here in the U.S.
Which is nuts.
Which is insane. And looking at this movie, coming out 2002, just months after 9/11 happened, it's crazy that this movie, like, just, I don't know, has like a premonition of what the world would be like post 9/11 while it was filmed mostly before that, and obviously written before that. And it just has that gritty nature that many movies during post 9/11 would have. And this movie, I mean, the opening alone with that group coming in to save the chimpanzees while the chimpanzees are just watching like real world violent footage on TV, and that's how they become rage filled, is nuts, because that's all that was on TV years after this movie came out.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It was all violent imagery. It was all like horrible things happen. I mean, and we're repeating that cycle again. Like, literally, like, this week has just been an onslaught of awful, violent, horrific news.
And there's a 28 later.
And there's a 28 later movie coming. Yeah.
What is time anymore?
It's insane. Just absolutely insane.
Yeah, so that opening, I had completely forgot about the opening. Because the opening I remember is the iconic opening that people still call the opening of this movie, though it's not the cold open.
Yeah.
Sure, it's the opening to our character Jim and his story. But I forgot everything about these chimpanzees.
Oh, yeah.
And
same.
Again, talking about the influence of this, I feel like the Planet of the Apes remake took a lot from this too. I know it's a thing in real life that we do test certain things on chimpanzees, but again, media taking from real life and taking from something influential like 28 Days Later and putting it in something like Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And I think it might, is that Contagion movie? I think maybe starts with
Yeah. Yes, Contagion starts with I think it's a like an animal gets killed and like fed on a market, and that's where but yeah, it's like the 28, starting with the monkey and like how it relates to Rise is like, yeah, that's a great comparison, because Rise is very much all about a virus that is being spread by monkeys, and that even goes into Matt Reeves's Dawn, where, you know, you're seeing like the fall of humanity
because of that. It's not because of it's not because of the apes uprising, it's because of a virus.
Yeah, like it's very much like the apes are not the cause of the downfall of the humanity. It's the literal virus that is actually killing off humanity, which is, I mean, I know they're not horror, but like I would totally do a Planet of the Apes. Like that trilogy is so good.
The Planet of the Apes movies fall into like horror nerds love those movies. Yeah.
It's genre stuff. So yeah.
But yeah, the iconic opening where it's Cillian Murphy waking up, showing off his little Oppenheimer in that hospital bed. Yeah. Props to him. We talked about this in our interview with Adam Marcus from Jason Goes to Hell. More
Equal
dongs in movies.
Nudist. Yep. More dongs in movies, more men's asses in movies. This has both.
This has a lot. His bare atomic bombs are hanging out the entire time.
Yeah. Cillian bears all in this. This opening is so good.
It's
Like
incredible.
it's one of those things where like you don't even realize that there hasn't been any sound for that you don't even realize there hasn't been dialogue sound, any of those like classic things until the car alarm goes off, and when that happens it's like Jesus,
Yeah.
like what there's noise like
The sound design in this movie is nuts.
oh, it's so good. It's so good. I love all of the desolate like walking around London. I love that they had to film this in like the wee hours of the morning. Um,
It reminded me of when we talked about Night of the Comet, which they did the
yeah.
same thing in LA in the 80s, was they just
Yep.
woke up at the butt crack of dawn, filmed for
Before
an hour,
everybody.
and all right, we got to do this every day until we get, the footage that we need.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing
I
here. Just desolate London is one of the scariest things ever.
mhm.
There's
Oh
nobody
yeah.
out there. It's just him. And then John Murphy's score in this movie. Oh my God. Incredible.
This is like I love John Murphy as a composer. I think he's done some incredible work. I mean his score to The Suicide Squad and the way it combines with Gunn's like soundtrack, one of my favorite pieces of film music. But this score is his
It's
masterpiece. Like
haunting.
it is so good, and it like,
This
especially when we
opening
get
almost
into that
feels
third
like
act, it's just like
this opening almost feels like an instrumental music video
yeah, yeah,
because the
one hundred
the
percent.
score is very instrumental. Like almost
Mm-hmm.
feels like Tool in a way.
Yeah,
But like the images again, he's not Jim. Cillian Murphy is not saying anything. He's the only one out in the world. You have these incredible shots of just empty London. You have him looking at these, missing people posters that are hung up. You have like the double decker bus tipped over in the middle of the
oh
street.
yeah.
Like it's just haunting images. You have Big Ben in the background with no one else on this bridge with him. Incredible stuff.
So I read. I know I sent you the oral history. I don't know if you read the whole
Yeah.
thing, but the yeah, one of my favorite anecdotes from that was when they were on the bridge and they had scattered all this garbage along the bridge. All of a sudden, like a city worker came in and was like sweeping the trash up and like trying to get all the trash up off the bridge. And Danny Boyle was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! No, we'll take care of this, but we're filming a movie on here right now." And the guy didn't believe him, and his quote was, "I thought I was gonna have to throw the guy off the bridge."
One thing I want to talk about with this movie is especially in this opening is where I really notice it when Jim enters this church
Mhm.
and he's like up in the balcony, he's like looking down and he sees all these like dead bodies
Yeah,
in these church pews and it's very hard to see like
yeah,
exactly what he's looking at until he talks and says, is anybody there? And a
yeah.
couple of the infected people come up. Scary shit. Come
Yep.
running at him. It's the first time, right? Yeah, this is our first zombies that we get to see
Yeah.
in the movie.
And then there's the priest
Yeah, comes
in the
running.
hallway that's terrifying. He talks to that priest way longer than I would have. Like I'm like, dude, something's clearly up. Get out of there. My favorite part of this church sequence is when he looks at the wall and there's spray painted on the wall, repent. The end is extremely fucking nigh. Like that is so ominous and so like it's you see the repent, the end is nigh, all that, but the extremely fucking nigh just adds like an extra layer of
Well,
like,
think about
ooh.
how quickly this has happened. Like the
Oh
fall
yeah,
of London
this
has
is
happened in
4
28
weeks.
days.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
Like that's no time at all. And when we get to the third act, which I know is like kind of a source of contention among people, I have no idea how because it's so fucking good. But like it's not over the top in the fact that like you can see why this would happen in 4 weeks and you could see this happening in 4 weeks, especially given where we are as a society. But it's like also it's only been 4 fucking weeks. How have you guys gone this far into barbarism 4 fucking weeks into this.
Well, I mean, London is gone. It's gone. There's nobody there.
It's demolished. Yeah, like, oh.
Crazy. But the thing I noticed in the opening is how, like, what this movie looks like. Looks like shit.
Yeah. I love it, though.
I love it. It adds to the gritty, like, people use that term way too often nowadays.
Yeah.
The gritty remake of Batman. And it's like this beautifully shot, like, on, like,
it's
IMAX cameras.
Shot digitally.
Yeah.
But they just add, like, a grainy filter over it, and everybody's like, it's so gritty.
So gritty. No, 28 Days Later is a gritty movie. It's shot on a Canon XL1 digital video camera. One of the first movies, like, first big budget movies to shoot all on digital. I looked up, like, and again, Danny Boyle is kind of going back to this with years later, where people are, he shot it all on iPhone. No, he shot like sequences on an iPhone to get whatever reaction he wants to get out of the audience for those. He did the same thing here, where it's all shot on digital, except there's some flashback sequences coming up that were shot on Super 8. The ending is shot on film when they're on the island.
Oh, is it?
It
is.
I
didn't realize that. That's cool. Okay.
But again, it makes sense why that looks like a pristine film look. It's a happy ending. It's a hopeful ending, at least.
Yeah.
Where the rest of the movie is like, no, the world's gone to shit, and this just feels like feet on the ground. We're filming this guerrilla style, like the filmmakers are in the apocalypse with them.
Yeah, there's almost like a bit of a found footage vibe to it, I feel like. And
something Weeks tries to do, and it's bad.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Agreed. I love the handheld camera. I love the kind of shaky aspect of it. I know that for a lot of people, like, that's something that bothers them, but I grew up watching the Paul Greengrass Jason Bourne movies, and those are just known for their, like, shaky cam close-ups. And so, like, all of the action in this to me was, like, it was so good. And I think, like, people who argue that you can't quite tell what's going on, like, I think that's the point. Like, it's meant to be disorienting. It's meant to put you in the shoes of someone that is getting attacked by a rage-filled infected person, because we're not saying zombie.
So I am one of those people that hates shaky handheld action scenes. I hate them with a passion.
I think
that's why I don't like the Bourne movies. Good. That's why I don't like the Taken movies.
Yeah, the Taken movies don't do it right. The Taken movies are bad.
I hate it when it feels lazy, and especially in action movies, it mostly feels lazy, because in an action movie you want to see the action. So I have a problem with 28 Weeks Later, and we'll get to that. But here, again, like you said, yes, everything you said is correct. It's meant to feel you're in the action. They're running at you. They're trying to grab you. They're trying to bite you. Not necessarily the character. And I think that's why he's named Jim. I know you made fun of his name being Jim.
I know. You can't cast someone as beautiful and magnetic as Cillian Murphy and then just be like, he's a bike courier named Jim. What?
Exactly. That's the point, though. He's a bike courier. We don't know anything about this guy. He has parents, and his name is Jim.
That scene is heartbreaking.
He's an everyman, and that's very hard to do and portray. And I think he does a great job of being that almost man with no name type character, except his name is Jim.
Yeah.
But yeah, his parents scene where he eventually gets rescued by these group of survivors, and they agree to go with him back to his parents' house.
Yeah.
And he just finds his parents having OD'd and leaving him a note and saying, please don't wake up. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, the note is like, we left you sleeping, now we join you in sleep. Please don't wake up. Like, fuck, that's so dark.
Mm-hmm.
That scene hit. And you really feel for this character not knowing much about him, because the stuff they give you is kind of a universal experience. Like, everybody has parents. Everybody has experienced the death of a loved one, maybe not tangent to the downfall of society.
Everybody loves drinking Pepsi.
Yeah, which this movie's definitely sponsored by Pepsi. There's so much Pepsi in the first act of this movie. It's so funny. And then I feel like it's not there.
Pepsi is the same pop in World War Z,
In
right?
World War Z, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
That one just feels egregious though, because like Brad Pitt literally walks up to a vending machine and just like takes a Pepsi and label out to the camera and takes a sip from it.
Yeah, it's similar to I don't know if he was in multiple, but one of the Transformers movies.
Yeah,
that Mark
Transformers
Wahlberg was
4,
in.
where he grabs a goddamn Bud Light and
Yeah, like there's a whole Bud Light truck, and he like literally holds it to the camera and cracks it open, and then goes, "Hand me my alien gun."
Yeah. It's like that scene in Wayne's World.
It really is.
Where Garth is just wearing the Reebok attire.
Yes. Oh my god.
But this is where we're introduced to Celine.
Yeah.
Who,
Naomi Harris.
Naomi Harris, who I feel like she's just been in everything.
Yeah. But, like, I feel like she just hasn't gotten her flowers. She is such a good actress. And I know, like, a lot of people are going to recognize her as Moneypenny from the newer Bond movies. But goddamn, they give her nothing to do in those. I love her in this movie. She is fantastic in 28 Days Later. She's the prototype for Michonne on The Walking Dead. She's a badass with a machete who's just like...
who's friends with the guy who woke up from a coma.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Like, how did The Walking Dead not get sued by this movie?
Oh,
seriously,
yeah. There's another character later that is straight up Maggie's dad. And Maggie. Basically Maggie. Like...
And the third act involves a general.
Yeah.
Who has a military complex that's a safe haven, but he keeps some zombies around to study them. Like, what the fuck, Walking Dead? every new development in this movie, I'm like,
why watch why watch 4 or 5 seasons of The Walking Dead? Just watch this one movie.
And it does it better than
it does it better and has no filler in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah, Mark, the other one that like Naomi Harris has been traveling with,
yeah.
He doesn't last long. I have a question to pose for you. So Mark gets killed.
Yep. He gets bit. She kills him. Yeah.
Does he though?
What?
There's a scuffle. It's all shaky cam. You never see him actually get bit. You just see at the end of the scuffle he has a wound on his arm that could have been from anything. Could have been from him falling, and Naomi Harris does not miss, she doesn't skip a second. She just hacks him. And at first I thought she was just going to hack his arm off to, like, stop the spread, you know? But no, she just keeps going. She, like, kills him completely. Do you think he actually got bit, or do you think that it's open to... Do you think it's open to interpretation?
I mean, I think it's probably open to interpretation.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if he actually got bit. Because to me, the wound didn't look like a bite mark.
Yeah. Well, I think it did. Or at least a scratch, like, the infected scratched him. Yeah, so
either way, the point is she doesn't hesitate.
She doesn't hesitate because you have, I think they say, like, 10 seconds before you change. It's pretty that quick. Fast. I don't know if I like that. It's unique for this world.
I mean, I think World War Z does the same thing. World War Z is kind of like the Diet Coke of 28 Days Later. I feel
the Diet Pepsi.
Yeah, the Diet Pepsi.
But yeah, I don't know. It's an interest. Like, again, looking at what they did with the lore of a traditional zombie. They don't ever call them zombies. They're infected. Again, they don't eat brains, they just attack you and bite you, or if you somehow come into contact with their blood.
They're literally just trying to infect other people.
Yeah.
Because they'll, like, get right over you and they'll vomit their blood, which is how they, like, transmit it. Which is also, like, post-COVID-19. How many fuckers just went out without a mask and were coughing everywhere, just like, oh, I don't care. Like, it's so... like, this movie...
And they're all rage. They're all rage filled.
It's all rage filled. Yeah, they're like, yeah. I don't know. It's crazy. This movie is so prescient. Is that the word? Where it's like, it's almost like premonition of what was to come. It's insane. It's insane. I totally did not realize that Brendan Gleeson was in this until he popped up on screen. I went, is that Brendan Gleeson? Oh my God.
The template for, I'm trying to remember his name on Walking Dead.
Isn't his name like Jim?
I don't think it was Jim. I don't know.
No, you don't think it was Jim?
I'll look it up. I'll find it. He's incredible in this movie, though.
He's so good. What's the daughter's name? God dang it. I had it. Hannah, played by, it's like, man, no. Now I'm getting all my, Walking Dead and stuff characters mixed up. Where are we at?
I don't know.
Hannah.
What is it?
Played by Megan Burns. Yeah.
We're both trying to look shit up at the same time. Great content.
Yeah, great content. So Megan Burns plays Hannah, his daughter. And I was really interested in one particular thing that she said in the oral history, where she was getting like hate mail for her performance in this movie. And like,
yeah, I saw that.
Getting called, and I'm like, who thought this performance was bad? Honestly, like, she's one of my favorite parts of this movie. Her and Brendan Gleeson have amazing chemistry. She has great chemistry with Naomi Harris in the third act, and I loved her performance. In fact, about 2/3 of the way through this movie, I looked at Maria. I'm like, that kid's like the MVP of this. Like, she just, I don't know. It was insane to me to read that in the oral history. I think Megan Burns did a phenomenal job in this movie, and I want that on the record. Like, Hannah is a great character.
Herschel was Herschel Green, who is Herschel. Like, this is literally the template for Herschel and his daughters here with Brendan Gleeson and his daughter.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they're incredible. I think they add humanity to this movie that is much needed.
They're going bathroom in buckets.
Yeah.
They're collecting rain up on the roof.
Do you notice they had like a laundry basket up there as one of the rain buckets?
I did. Which was so funny.
Yeah.
Like, where are you going to get like the very small amount in the very bottom
water.
Before?
It's water.
Yeah, I guess. I love this movie's use of color. I don't think it uses a lot of color all the time. Like, I find like the rest, like, the opening's pretty beige. It's pretty desaturated. You've got Cillian Murphy in the like blue scrubs, and he kind of stands out amongst the city. I love the shot of the rooftop with all the buckets, because all the buckets are different colors, and it feels like the colors pop when there's more safety in the situation. Like, it's when they're on that roof, when they finally taken, refuge in the apartment building that they're holed up in. It's at the end during the where they're sewing together the parachutes to like call for help. It's
it's their drive,
the grocery store,
the drive where they go over that, they're on that like hill, and it looks like a Windows like screensaver almost.
Yeah, exactly. Like the color is almost like there's pops of color to like reprieve you from the just like kind of oppressive and dour situation that these characters find themselves in. And I just really appreciated that. I thought that was a really, it's something that a lot more movies should take note of.
Again, this isn't just a traditional zombie movie. There is so much thought that Danny Boyle put into this, where it feels like a character indie drama that just so happens to be set inside of a post-apocalyptic world that is filled with infected people who rage attack you and turn you into a zombie.
Yeah. And in the desaturated moments where there's like a little more danger, the color that pops is the red of the blood, the red of the eyes. Like, I don't know, that I think that this is people shit on the look of this movie a lot, and like I get it because there's grainy camera, there's shaky camera, like there are parts of this that look rough. And especially when you upgrade it to a 4K on a digital camera that
Yeah,
was only meant to record on a certain number of
on
pixels.
720p probably
Right, yeah.
max.
But I think people are missing a lot of the
And that
intention
was all in,
behind it.
yeah, that all
Yeah.
was all intentional for it to look that way. Yes,
Yeah, like
100%.
it's not like this camera looked great on the big screen back in '02 either. You know what I mean? Like you blow it up to that size of a screen and it's gonna look like that. Like that's so to me that's like a non-starter. When people talk about like, oh, it looks like crap, I'm like I don't need to continue this conversation then.
Well, we're going to continue this conversation. One of my favorite scenes is the grocery store scene, which again,
Love it.
template for Zombieland. This is straight
Yes.
up an exact scene that would be in Zombieland.
Yep.
Yeah, where it feels like a moment of levity for all of these characters where they can be human again before
Mm-hmm.
shit starts to hit the fan again, pretty much right after when they end up back at the military base.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and the tunnel scene before they get to the grocery store, where they get the
Oh, yeah, where
flat
they're
because
changing the
they're
tire.
they're driving over all the like carts and like all the debris that's been left, and you just know something's gonna go wrong. But they're having fun. They're like joyriding in their car, and then that flat happens. You're just like, oh Jesus, and the you don't even see the infected at first. You just see the shadows coming around the corner. I remember seeing that scene as a kid. Maybe it was in a trailer, maybe it was something like I found on YouTube, but like that image stuck with me over the years. I like and that tunnel scene, I knew they were going to get out of it, but like even watching it now, like it had me on the edge of my couch. Like I was like, "Holy shit, like this is intense." And then yeah, you have the great like relief. They get out, they go to the grocery store. It's the last moment of happiness they have this entire goddamn movie. Well, until like the very end, I suppose. But um and yeah, I feel like every zombie movie moving forward has had some iteration of that. Save for maybe I can't think of anything in Shaun of the Dead that was like that, but I feel like even Warm Bodies had something like that. Even Zombieland Double Tap had like they basically just did that scene again in the sequel. Like, and it's because it's a good scene, and when you're dealing with something like zombies, I feel like that's something you need is to have that little bit of hope or that little bit of relief for the characters. Otherwise, otherwise it's The Walking Dead,
Yeah,
and
The
it's just
Walking Dead
miserable the
never
whole time.
has that sense
No,
of normalcy
no,
in
like
that series at all.
they don't. It like I don't like the term torture porn, so I hesitate in using this term, but I'm gonna call The Walking Dead misery porn because that's kind of what it feels like. I like you watch that show and it just drains the fun out of any type of enjoyment that you might have with it. And I don't want to keep harping on that show, but when it's
It's
so clearly directly influenced by this, but not as good, and it became like a worldwide phenomenon, like what the fuck?
yeah, this movie still has a connection to humanity, which I think is
Yeah,
very important in a zombie movie is to keep that connection to humanity because again, it with something like The Walking Dead where you said it's misery porn. It's like what's the point in me watching this? I don't care if they get out of it because they're all not acting like humans anyway. They don't have fun. They don't have any
yeah,
shred of humanity left to them. Why would I root
yeah,
for them? Versus here, where they all do. They're like, we want to survive if we could. Like, this is how we would want to live our lives.
yeah. Well, and that's the best part about this movie is like, I don't, if I had seen this when I was a kid, I don't know if I would have liked it. Like when it came out, like around the time I was 10, 11, I feel like this movie would have maybe bored me if I went into it looking for a zombie movie. Because the zombies are really just kind of background to a very human story in this. And when you get into the third act at the military complex, at the mansion with the general, like the villain is not the infected. It's literally the other people that are surviving this apocalypse with them, you know? And
Which
I
again
guess,
is something that Walking Dead takes, and
yeah, but doesn't do as well.
no, not as well as this movie for
Yeah.
sure.
It's
It
one of the
does.
stronger elements of that show.
It's probably
though.
the strongest element of that show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is that humans are the real villains.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which it's like, okay, but you
do
have
something
that
with it.
you have that same thesis like 5 seasons in a row. Let's switch it up a little.
Yeah. So the entire group ends up at this base, this military base.
These guys are so icky. Right off the bat, you just get a bad vibe. Like there are just red flags all over this place, you know?
That there's only like a dozen military men.
I have another question for you. Do you think these guys are actually military?
No, some of them are. I think some of them are.
Okay. Because I was about to say, yeah, and I could see like some of them.
I think
being,
the
being
main
military.
guy is.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think some of these guys are military.
No, definitely
I
not.
think because like one of them at one point is like holding a gun, not how a military person would hold a gun. Like he's not able to fire it correctly. And I just, ooh, I tell you that. We get to the military base, and this is where Brendan Gleeson he exits the picture in probably the most heartbreaking scene in this whole. Well, I don't know. The parent scenes in this are terrible, both of them. But like, they get there and it looks abandoned, and Brendan Gleeson is very upset, and he kicks a wall, and there's a dead infected hanging above him, and a drop of blood falls down. One of the best shots of the movie is when you see like the drop of blood POV as it drops into his eye. Like that's such a good shot, and the minute it happens, you're like, fuck. And his daughter's trying to
Yeah.
fuck. And he starts freaking out because he knows he's got 10 seconds before he turns. His daughter's trying to be like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? Because, like, obviously no one saw, like, a tiny drop of blood go into your eye. Like, that is something that only he knows happened at that point. And he is fighting this rage off, but he shoves his daughter and he's like, stay away from me. Like, but he gets to tell her, I love you one last time before it fully takes him over. And then he just gets mowed down by a bunch of dickheads that were just hiding in plain sight, not answering them as they were calling for help approaching this place. Like, his death could have been completely avoidable. First red flag.
Also, okay, they do explain that a little bit later on, though. That they get a notification when people are at that abandoned checkpoint.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
So it could have been that they were coming from
just showed
the
up.
base up to that checkpoint. Could have been,
suppose,
but they're dickheads, so they might have just been there waiting for something to happen.
Yeah. Ugh. Because they don't need a Brendan Gleeson. Ugh.
No. And then they could take care of Jim, because Jim is just bone at this point.
Yeah, like, I mean, he's been in a coma for a month. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't know if Cillian, like, lost weight for this. Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was about to say, because he looks pretty fucking gaunt, especially in that, like, opening sequence. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we find out that these sleazeball military are basically wanting the two women there to procreate and start the world anew. Because how much of the... I'm confused about how much of the world has been taken over by this at this point. From what I understand, it's just England.
Just like London and surrounding area. Yeah. That's what I get from it too. Especially in like the opening of Weeks. It very much seems like it was at least contained to a region in the UK. Christopher Eccleston as this like West guy, the commander. He is so good in this movie. You hate him from the moment he's on screen. Like there's just Christopher Eccleston plays a great villain. He just does.
Because there is a way you, like for me, like meeting this guy again, because again, I remembered nothing about this third act. I was like, yeah, I would trust this guy. But he has something beneath the surface where you're like,
yeah.
maybe he's too nice. Maybe he's too
You
accepting.
understand why they trust him, but I'm like, there's no way this goes well.
Yeah.
Like the way this movie has gone thus far, I know something's off here. Like they're not just gonna, yeah. The reveal that they want the women for basically to just be servants and sex slaves, like, is truly, truly horrific. I'm glad it doesn't go to certain
It's not
places.
exploitative, though.
Yeah, like it's not exploitation. It's not like you're getting any kind of graphic SA scenes. You're not getting anything
Even
like that.
dialogue-wise, it's not.
Even dialogue, it's like it's tastefully done. About as tasteful as you can be with this kind of subject matter. I loved everything about this third act.
Third act is incredible.
When the score kicks in and it's raining and you've got Jim who has escaped the compound and you've got Naomi Harris who has drugged this poor like teen girl because she knows what's coming and she's like, I'm just gonna make sure you don't feel anything. Like that is like one of the most stomach dropping moments for me, is when she just basically is like, I'm just numbing you out so you don't feel anything. Like shit. like
She's been through the ringer. Like, you know, that character's been through the ringer before.
Yep. And it's just she knows what's coming. It's heartbreaking. And meanwhile you've got Jim who's like being supposed to be getting executed out in the woods because he won't go along with West's plan. Which West's whole thing about like he found one of his men with a gun in his mouth and he promised him women. That line sent chills up my spine. I was like, oh God. Also, like, just let that dude kill himself. If it's been 4 weeks and his biggest complaint is that he hasn't gotten his dick wet, dude deserves to die. like,
Sam, for that guy, it's been much longer than 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That guy probably hadn't gotten any in years because they're all scumbags.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything about this sequence, Jim escaping through the woods,
pulling the air raid siren to alert the infected to come.
Yeah. And okay, so the casting of this movie. The casting of this movie is really interesting. But like there's a black woman in the lead who is in the third act supposed to be like the villains are trying to essentially use her as a sex slave, as a servant. And then you have the only black man in the cast is an infected member that they have chained up and are letting him starve to death to see how long it takes. Like, this movie saw what Romero did with Night of the Living Dead, and I guarantee, like, that casting has to be on purpose. Like, there's no way that the casting of those two roles was an accident, and I kind of love that. Like, I don't know, like, it just...
Again, everything's on purpose.
Yeah, like, this movie is saying a lot without it being... It's not like a literal, like, in your face, this is what we're doing.
Just like the Romero films. We're not in...
Yeah.
They weren't ever... Well, there was... Some of those were a little more in their face, but that was Romero. But everything was still intentional.
The consumerism angle of Dawn is very upfront. But, like, yeah.
But that movie, yeah.
This is
There's a lot more than just consumerism in that movie. too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, for sure. For
But yeah,
sure.
everything is intentional with Danny Boyle
It
in this.
trusts its audience to connect the dots,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that. Like yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Jim comes back, sets the captured infected free, and the captured
Mm-hmm.
infected gets to run rampant around the house.
Oh, such a good one. The shot where he's like in the window behind one of the guys, he just bursts through and grabs him is so good. Like, oh,
There's a shot later where one of them asks why the guy has left his post, and they see him running, and then you just see an infected right behind him, like down the hallway. Again,
yeah,
there's like moments of levity in this as well, even
yeah,
though it's like terrifying. There are
yep,
moments of levity in this.
yep. And then like honestly the best scene of the whole movie, the eye gouging scene. And you know what? I'm gonna jump ahead to 28 weeks later. Fuck that movie for doing a cheap ripoff of this scene. God damn it.
We're almost there. We're almost there, Sam.
But this scene, like where Jim just goes hog wild, and he doesn't just gouge the eyes out. Like first he beats the guy, like he beats him to the point where you're like, he's got to be dead already. But then he screams when the eyes get gouged, so he's clearly still horrifyingly conscious for this. But Jim is just it's so crazy because like he is not a fighter in this movie. When we start, like he's kind of appalled by Selena and like her cavalier, like if I think you're infected, I'm not hesitating.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of this movie, he is like, no, I am going to murder you in order to protect myself and my like found family that I have.
Well, I mean, yeah, we skipped over a scene before they go to the military compound where he ends up killing a kid.
Yeah, that's right. Because oh yeah, the kid in the truck stop, terrifying. He's like a little ninja. He drops down from the ceiling and like you don't even hear him. Oh, that scene freaked me out.
Again, I think there's a scene similar to that in Walking Dead.
There is, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How did they not get sued?
I don't know, man. It's crazy.
I like some of that show, but
I watched the first like 6 or 7 seasons of it, and then I stopped because I was just like, oh, I'm not getting anything new out of this.
I stopped when Maggie's sister died.
Was that before or after Negan? I can't remember.
Before. I didn't even make it to Negan.
I made it to Negan
I didn't
because
even
I was
make
like,
it that far.
So I had stopped watching, and then they cast Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. And so I caught up with it before the Negan season, and then the Negan season was actually horrible, and I was like, oh, I don't need to watch this anymore.
The next season that I did not watch was the Negan season.
Yeah.
It's as far as I made it. Anyway, so the three escape, and we get to like a time jump, and they're all on this like.
The best part is the payoff of the whole thing, where like he's demolished this guy with such ferocity that Naomi Harris is not sure if he is actually infected.
Oh, he has so much rage in him.
Yeah, and she has like the machete raised, and then she realizes it's not him, and she drops it, and he goes, "You hesitated," and boom, they kiss, and I'm like, that's what the lift needed, baby.
Brought back to the lift.
Yep.
But anyway, time jump to however, does it say how long later?
Well, because he gets shot. Yeah, he gets shot by Eccleston. The daughter, Megan, Hannah. Yeah. Hannah gets the last kill of the movie by reversing the car and basically feeding West to the zombie that he had chained up. Great moment. And then you cut 28 days later and Jim is waking up from a coma again.
And they have this like giant hello sign that they pull out when they see this helicopter flying by. It's something that very clear like they have tried before and now seems like it has paid off. Yeah.
And it cuts on them looking up at the plane, and I love that. Another thing with the oral history that I thought was really funny, they ran out of money during the gate ramming sequence. And they shot this thing mostly sequentially, like with very few out of order sequences, which I love when movies do that. I think that's cool. But apparently, like, they had gotten to the gate ramming sequence, and then the producer was like, "We ran out of money." And they all, like, went home. And they tested this movie with, like, a thing where Jim dies. With an ending where Jim dies.
Yeah, there's an alternate ending where they just don't save him and he dies.
Yeah. And Alex Garland in this oral history said it not only tested badly, it tested really badly. And I'm like, oof. Yeah, I bet it did. You know, like, you can't endear us to someone and then literally just shoot him in the gut and let him bleed out. Like, this isn't Blade Runner 2049. I think it's so funny that they like ran out of money, but then because of a poor test screening, they were able to get more money from the studio to make an ending that audiences would actually like. Whereas, like, these days, I feel like they just fan four stick it and they just dump it in theaters and feed the filmmaker to the wolves. So good on Searchlight for giving him that extra money to actually make an ending. I don't know. I love that. This movie is amazing.
Sam, how many running zombies out of 5 are you giving 28 days later?
I gave it the full 5, man. I think this is a zombie movie on par with, like, the Romero stuff. And I think that this is saying as much as any of those movies. It's got intense zombie sequences, but it's very focused on the human story, and I love that. I think it does the human story really well, and the cast is just incredible. Like, not a weak performance in the whole thing. And I really, really loved this movie. I couldn't believe I had never seen it before. It will be one that I come back to quite a bit moving forward. What about you? How many running zombies you giving this one?
I gave it 4 on Letterboxd. I'm going to bump it up to 4.5.
Yeah.
I feel like if I watch this again in the next 5 years, it might get that 5-star treatment. Yeah, it was so nice to revisit this with basically fresh eyes again watching this movie. Yeah, this movies in general kind of owe a whole lot to 28 Days Later. At least genre movies do. Yeah. On how influential this is, not just for zombie movies, but horror movies that came in the 2 decades since 28 Days Later. And again, like you said at the beginning of this conversation, just as prevalent now as it was in 2002. And it was already, like, super topical in 2002. It's kind of crazy how well this movie has just captured I don't know what the right word is for this, but, like, captured, like,
culture.
Yeah. I don't think, like, necessarily the zeitgeist, but just captured humanity in the way that we experience it in our day-to-day lives. I think is just a masterful job of doing that. Yeah, this, again, if people have not watched 28 Days Later, highly recommend. I know a lot of people are revisiting these movies with the new one coming out, but yeah. 4.5. Cut one of those zombies right in half.
Yeah. Ooh, one more thing that I love about this world before we move on. I love that the zombies, you don't have to have a headshot. They die just like normal people. Like, it.
They don't change that much from a normal human to a psycho crazy zombie. It's not like they're decaying. Yeah.
They just have a virus. Yeah. Like, it's not like the dead are rising from their graves. It's like, so good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love this. I love this take on quote unquote zombies.
They're zombies.
They're zombies.
They're almost like zombie vampire hybrids in a way. Like, take a little bit of lore from both of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Sam, let's get to our first ad read before we get to 28 weeks later. We have joined the Full Moon Army, and we want you To take advantage of our exclusive offer for listeners of Screens from the Basement, Full Moon Features, best known for their Video Isle classic franchises such as Puppet Master, Subspecies, and the Evil Bong series, is offering 10% off every order on fullmoonhorror.com when you use our affiliate link and affiliate link code. I lost my notes for a second. So if you go to fullmoonhorror.com, you can use our discount code SCREAMS at checkout. This goes towards all in-stock items, including Blu-rays, DVDs, replicas, action figures, and so much more. Again, visit fullmoonhorror.com, use promo code SCREAMS at checkout to save 10%. I know they do have their 4th of July sale coming up. So again, use our affiliate link in the episode description for that big sale. All right, so let's flash forward to 28 weeks later from 2007, directed by Juan Carlos Fresnadillo? That's a hard last name.
Hold on, let me look into this.
Fresnadillo. I know I'm butchering it, but
Fresnadillo?
Fresnadillo?
Yeah, sure.
Fresnadillo. Written by Rowan Joffe, E.L. Levine, Jesus Lumo, and Juan Carlos. 4 writers on this movie.
And
what did these 4 writers write, Sam?
28 weeks after leaving his wife and fellow hideaways behind to get ripped to shit by a bunch of blood-puking maniacs, a father is reunited with his children in a virus-free section of London, under the supervision of the U.S. Army. When his 2 dipshit kids break quarantine, a series of ludicrously bad decisions from everyone involved leads to a fresh outbreak. Who will escape? Who will survive? Who fucking cares? These characters suck.
28 weeks later stars Jeremy Renner, Rose Byrne, Imogen Poots, Idris Elba, and the greatest name in cinematic history, Macintosh Muggleton.
That's a great name. It's really great. Yeah.
That is the most European name I think I've ever heard in my entire life.
It's the best part of this movie is that guy's name.
It's the kid. It's the little brother. Macintosh Muggleton.
It's better than the kid's character or his performance. I'm not gonna shit on a little kid's performance. I promise.
He's fine.
He's fine. I don't like the character.
Fair. You can blame that on one of the 4 writers of 28 weeks later. Yeah. So so this one again, 5 years later, does not have Danny Boyle or Alex Garland involved.
No, because
necessarily
Danny Boyle's
directly
making Sunshine this year.
Yeah. Made the wrong decision there, Danny Boyle.
I disagree. I love Sunshine, but
terrible movie. Anyway, Danny Boyle did direct the opening sequence of this movie, though.
Which is the best part of this movie.
Best part of the movie.
It's where it peaks and it gets total shit after that.
Yeah. So yeah, they did have ideas of doing a 29 days later was one of their original ideas. To continue right off the story from 28 days later for this sequel before they just went their separate ways.
I'm glad they didn't. I like the 28 days is like its own story, separate from like I don't think you need to bring any of these characters back. Like I hope they don't bring any of them back in 28 years later. Like I hope that is its own separate story with a different group of characters.
Yeah, and that makes me wonder. So we're 28 weeks later. How many? That's what, 6 months?
Around 6 months, yeah.
Roughly 6 months since the chimpanzees were released and the infection started.
Yep.
That seems like a really quick turnaround to have the U.S. military setting up like quarantines for them to rebuild inside the city. Well, why not just get these people the hell out of there?
Yeah, well, the story is like they've all starved to death, but they're still checking to make sure they've all starved to death. So I'm like, do you know that they've all starved to death? Or are are we just reopening this shit way too early? Like another topical current event? Oh,
And we'll find out they are opening this way too early.
Yep, way too early. Yeah. So here's the thing: the first act of this movie is pretty goddamn good, and it sets up a lot of things that I would be interested in seeing play out, and then it ditches literally every one of those things for a very generic zombie action movie.
Yes.
And by the end, I was so frustrated with the fact that we don't get the thematic resonance that we had with the first one, and I think it tries. I just don't think it succeeds.
No, because we get the opening with the dad, and
yeah. He's like living in a house.
He's living in a house with his wife. They have sent their kids away to some sort of safe haven. I don't know. It's a little vague.
I think it was like a camp. They had sent them away to a camp before this hit, and then the zombie thing hit, and they were separated from their kids. Is how I read that.
Okay. And so they're in this cabin with this other couple, and then with a bunch of strangers, basically.
Yeah,
and then
they're all just holed up.
Yeah, they're all just held up, and then this little boy comes, and his wife, being the mother that she is, takes this little boy in, and then we get the infected coming into the house and going after everyone, killing everyone in the house, basically. And then we get it's what is this guy's name?
So the actor is Robert Carlyle, who is a fantastic actor, by the way.
What is his character name?
His character name is
Don.
Don.
Right?
Yes, Don.
Don. Yeah, so Don and his wife get separated upstairs. She has this young little boy with her. And
so she goes to the boy to save
him. Yes.
But it's not their kid. And he leaves her, right?
Yeah. He leaves. He goes out the window. Instead of saving her, he closes the door because he knows they're coming. Closes the door, jumps out the window, and makes a beeline to get the hell out of there and ditches his wife and this kid.
I have a question for you. I think he's in the right here. What do you feel?
No,
what do you feel
obviously
about this?
not. He is not in the right at all.
Oh my God. Okay, let's get into this. Because here's the thing. That kid is not his. That kid fucked the whole group by bleeding all these infected to him, right? Which, okay, not the kid's fault. The kid's looking for safety. I get that. They have 2 kids that may or may not be alive that will need at least one parent. If they
this
can ever
kid
get
that
out
they
of
found
this.
needs a parent.
Well, his parents are gone, so he's, he can be Batman or some shit. I don't know.
No, he is 100% in the wrong. He doesn't even try.
I wouldn't either. I'd shut that door and I'd be out. Like,
here's the
it's
thing,
every
though.
man
Like,
for himself. This is a fucking zombie apocalypse, dude.
It is. Did you see what was outside that window that he was running away from? It's like, you're not gonna try your hand at saving your wife?
No. I watched this with Maria, and I told her, I looked at her, and I was like, I'd leave your ass. Especially if you ran across a room for a kid that wasn't even ours, when we had 2 kids waiting for us somewhere, potentially. And she went, yeah, totally. He is not, like, I get why he's guilty later in the movie. Like, I get why he feels guilt. But, like, to me,
and then what he does later shows decision. He is not a good person.
What does he do later?
He goes to kill her. When she comes back.
No, he kisses her and then he dies.
And then, anyway. You're right. But
all I'm saying is I found him a very sympathetic character.
He's a dickhead. He's a worse dickhead than the military guys.
Yeah, he's the only likable character in this movie.
Oh my God. This movie peaks, though, like right here, is when he's running out of the house. Yes. And you see the zombies coming out of the house towards him, and then you look over the hill, and there are hundreds of them coming at him.
So this is the
Terrifying.
scene that I conflate with the first movie, where in my mind it was Cillian Murphy running through a field with a bunch of zombies converging on him. Didn't realize it was Robert Carlyle. Yeah, but I definitely seen that scene in the field, and that always terrified me as a kid.
I mean, that's the scene of this movie.
Yeah, well, it's the only... Yeah.
Well, and then we get to the quarantine where the U.S. Army is introduced, where I think this is some of the weakest stuff in the movie, for sure.
Well, so, like, I think the setup is okay.
Yeah.
I like how we're like, it's been 6 months. This area has been checked. There's no infected here. We can start rebuilding society in this specific area. But we've got military surrounding it. You cannot leave while we check the surrounding areas to make sure that it is safe to expand this. I love all of that. I love the dad being reunited with his kids, having the guilt about leaving their mother behind. And, like, lying to them about it because his wife is purportedly dead. Like, there's no way that this could possibly come back. And, of course, it does.
I guess that's the question. Where do you think a better movie lies in here? Because kids show up. They realize they don't have a picture of their mom, so they escape. They leave. They steal a pizza delivery moped.
And all of this is good, too. Like, all of this I like.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah. And they go back to their house, and that's where the young boy, Macintosh Muggleton, finds his mom.
Mm-hmm. And she's clearly, like, she's infected because she's got the, like, kind of blood... She doesn't have completely blood red eyes, but she's definitely like...
It's like half of her
different.
eye almost is.
Yeah. She's semi-feral, I guess. She's not attacking him. She seems happy to see him. She can talk, she can speak. So there's something off. I liked all this. I'm like, this is interesting. This is bringing a wrinkle into it. They're going to bring her back. The dad's going to have to grapple with not only what he did, the fact that she survived, the fact that he lied to his children. How is that going to come up? And then this movie doesn't do anything with that.
Yeah, it kills off the parents too quick is this movie's problem.
Yeah, like the second act is like him.
Yeah, the second act starts with him going to visit the mom, and he ends up they end up sharing a kiss, and that's where he becomes infected.
Right after we've gotten an exposition dump about it being not only transferred through blood but also saliva, and that she is infected, but she's not symptomatic. She's just a carrier, which means she can still spread it. They literally lay all of this out. And then I get that we have the swipe card. Like, he brags to his kids about how his card gets him anywhere in the building. And they're basically like, yeah, but aren't you a janitor? I'm like, hey, take offense at that. But you're telling me there's no guards near this room? You're telling me that even though I know they got on a moped, they were on foot for quite a while. You're telling me it took the military all that time to get to those kids? They couldn't intercept them before they got to their house, way outside of the quarantine zone. Like, it's little things like that, like, okay, I get that some movies are gonna bend belief a little bit. But it seems like that just starts a trend of all of these decisions where it's like, no rational humans doing this. You know what movie this reminded me of that we just covered on the
Prom
podcast?
Night!
Prom Night, because Idris Elba is not good at his job.
Idris Elba also plays another incompetent man in uniform in this movie.
Yes. He's, like, and why is he in this role? Like, I get that around this time, Idris Elba... Yeah, he doesn't get an arc. He doesn't get any, like, it's just like, his last scene is there, and then you just never see him again. I get that he wasn't, like, Idris Elba back
You got
then.
the and credit.
What the fuck?
You got the and credit.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's insane.
Yeah, this podcast is just becoming Idris Elba as an incompetent man in uniform podcast.
Yeah, right. Like I don't know. Him and Rose Byrne, like Rose Byrne's like, oh, we can't bring kids in, and then she's like, oh, but this kid might be the cure to a vaccine, or the
yeah,
the key to a vaccine.
Yeah. I like her character when she's the like scientist key to a vaccine, but again, it doesn't make like why even introduce that she's against kids being there in the first place.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah,
it's so weird.
This movie, you can tell, has 4 screenwriters because it feels like there are so many different versions of this script playing out on screen.
Mm-hmm. Well, like, okay, so the daughter is played by Imogen Poots, who, like, scream
Incredible.
queen extraordinaire. Love her. I wish she had more to do in this, aside from cry a lot about her parents.
And she essentially becomes the main character by the end of the movie.
Yeah, but like she's not a character even. Like they give her nothing. Like the problem with this movie is they try and make it an ensemble and different people take the lead for different sections of the movie. Like part of this movie the lead is Jeremy Renner. Part of this movie the lead is Rose Byrne. Part of this movie the lead is Imogen Poots. But they give they're all
the first third of the movie is the dad.
Yeah. But they're all bland protagonists that have no actual characteristics. And so it's just, who do you want me to be attached to? Because I'm not attached to any of these people. You're not exploring any of their dilemmas in any meaningful way. You're just, they're action figures getting moved from set piece to set piece. Which, fine. Look, if I had watched this outside of the vacuum of having just watched 28 Days Later, I might like this movie more. But watching it so shortly after I watched 28 Days Later, I was like, this is not good. This is the big studio Michael Bay version of 28 Days Later.
It's the imitation ripoff that we would get in this era of zombie movies. Like this is the imitation of 28 Days Later, except it's in the same exact universe as that movie.
Fuck, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead has more social commentary than this movie.
Yeah, is there social commentary? Again, so this
military
movie,
bad,
I guess, is the social commentary. Willing to kill off civilians. Okay.
Yeah.
And again,
that's probably the next best scene in that movie. In this movie is the sniper scene, essentially. Yeah.
And again, it's during the Iraq War. Maybe trying to say something about that. Except, I think 28 Days Later did that better before we were ever at war. Insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one just feels like, I don't know, just a very surface level on what it's trying to go for. And again, by the end of the movie, Imogen Poots she's the lead of this movie, and it's kind of like we're supposed to have this like emotional connection with her, especially her and her dad, who literally have 2 scenes together?
Yeah, like 2 scenes before he gets infected.
Yeah.
The little boy has the scene in the parking garage, but that doesn't further his character ever. Imogen Poots runs off with Rose Byrne, and they're trying to find him. You get the awesome helicopter scene, I suppose. The helicopter scene was fun, where he's
trying to rescue them a little later on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the egregious day for night.
Yeah.
So we talk about how everything Danny Boyle did in 28 Days was very intentional. The style, the substance, the characters, the imagery. This one feels different, where they do the shaky cam. But in this case, this movie is pretty action oriented. It's military versus zombies is really what this movie is. which
it
is like,
ups the zombie
yeah,
action for sure. Yeah.
which,
This is like the zombie movie that as a kid I would have probably like if I had watched this
yeah,
when I was a kid, I think I would have liked Weeks more than Days because Weeks has a lot more of that like intense action to it, you know.
it's like watching Alien and Battlefield LA, where as a kid you're like, yeah, Battlefield Los Angeles, that's the one I prefer because it's got the action in it. Alien's
Yeah.
boring.
Yeah. Yeah. Precisely. That
Yeah.
is a great comparison.
Um, but yeah, it just, it rings hollow, all the stylistic choices in this.
Hmm.
Where,
The,
like, this one is, I don't know, I didn't look up. Was this one shot on film? Because it does look different than,
it does look different. I don't know if it was shot on film. Let me.
or at least a higher quality digital. I think it was shot on film, though. But the day for night, I don't know. Like, you can at least still see everything that's going on, but it's very clear that it's day for night.
Yeah. It
It doesn't look good. It just doesn't look
it
good.
doesn't.
I
Like, and
appreciate good lighting at night, but this just, I don't know. It feels a little lazy.
there's just a lot of like it kind of looks it looks like someone trying to rip off the style of 28 Days Later, but without the intention behind it. Like it's like someone saw that and went, "Oh, I love that look." And then mimicked that look but didn't mimic any of the stuff underneath. It's like if someone was going to make a car replica and they put all this work into the body and forgot to put the engine in. You know what I mean? Like there's just nothing underneath the hood in this. Um and it like pains me to say that because there are moments of this movie that I found really good. Like the scene where all of the like the military essentially is like we've got to contain this, shoot everything ground level. Like don't worry if they're infected or not. Like that's a harrowing scene and it's really well done. But like and there are little points that kind of pop up throughout this movie, but overall it's kind of a slog to get through. It's a really dour movie. There's no levity in this one. There's no levity in this one like there was in Days. There's no reprieve for any of the characters, and that's not
There's
necessarily
moments
a
where you
bad
could.
thing. There's moments where you could, and I just this movie's not interested in that, and I think that you can make a dour movie that is all like nope, like there's no levity in this and it can work. But this isn't that because it's also kind of trying to be a high octane action thriller. And that by essence needs to be a little fun, you know, and this movie isn't. And so it just kind of I don't know if it knew what it wanted to be. You know, it doesn't feel like it knows what it wants to be. And so it's just a jarring experience where, like, I'm not really enjoying any of it, even when there's a high point.
Yeah, and it even runs into the pitfalls of a lot of, like, lesser zombie movies where they'll just introduce
Mhm.
characters that you know are just there to die.
Like the guy that just, like, falls off the
The
helicopter.
guy in the
because he's like,
helicopter,
"Whoa!"
the woman who gets shot and refuses to be bait, which I would too.
Yeah.
I'm with that woman, Jeremy
Yeah,
Renner.
I know, right? And, like, Jeremy Renner's doing Jeremy Renner. Like, there's nothing really that pops about his performance.
Yeah,
I
he's
was
he's playing a character named Doyle,
yeah.
which is
Doyle
like
McPoyle.
combining Danny Boyle's names together to create his name.
Oh my god. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
100% what it is.
gross.
Doyle.
So stupid. Nope, don't like it.
I don't know. He's just generic. Like this was my first introduction to Jeremy Renner. Was this movie, and I always associated him with generic white guy action star.
I mean, that's what he is in this movie, particularly. You know, like
That might
I've
have been
seen
why
him.
I didn't like him as Hawkeye right away.
Yeah,
When I saw him in the Avengers, like that year.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I like. I was so excited going into this movie because I looked into the cast and I'm like, oh my God, this is a stacked
Big
cast. Like,
cast,
this is
yeah.
going to be great. But it gives no one anything to do, really. And that's just, it's so disappointing. I
My favorite scene though is, and I think it's one of the most inventive scenes of the movie, is the helicopter coming to save them, and then it does the tilt forward and just starts chopping up all
annihilating
the
bodies.
zombies. Yeah. It's cool. It's
Although,
inventive. It's fun.
it
It's maybe the
is.
one fun thing in this movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would 100% agree with that. My only thing with that scene, logistically, you now have a problem because your helicopter is doused in infected blood. like, like, I don't know if I'm comfortable getting in the helicopter after that.
Oh, like the entire movie, the little boy Andy has like blood on his face.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like no one thinks to clean that off him. Like I understand he
I
might
mean,
not have gotten it in his mouth, but like what if he rubs his face and then touch it?
yeah.
No.
Like, yeah, I'd be wiping that shit off right away if I saw, like, blood on someone's face. And that's kind of just the thing with this movie. Like, especially when you get into the end. I think when they kill Renner, like, that is where this movie really takes a dive. Like, and it comes after a pretty fun set piece. Not fun, but, like, cool set piece at least, where they're, like, trying to escape the gas in London. And they're driving through the London streets trying to get out of the toxic gas and everything. And then, of course, the car dies and they have to, like, start. Jeremy Renner gets out to push it. And then military guys come around and
Light him
flamethrow
up.
him to death. Yeah. Then the movie just loses steam. They get
It
into
gets
the
it gets
tunnels.
real rough as
It's
soon
real
as
bad.
yeah, as soon as he leaves the picture. It's not even, again, his sacrifice is,
It's not earned.
it's not earned. It's super lame.
Yeah, it's just like,
It's just like, oh, okay, lit him on fire. Okay.
it's like, I'll catch up with you later. And it's like, okay, we know that, like, that means you're gonna sacrifice. Like, the whole thing just plays out so generic. Like, you know, the minute he says that, what he's gonna do. And it's like, okay, sure.
Yeah, but they end up in this tunnel.
Underground tunnel to get to the stadium.
Yeah, that will lead to the
that's
stadium
the
where
rendezvous
the
point.
helicopter is that didn't pick him up before.
Yeah, which is so stupid. What? Oh, I'll pick you guys up later. You're there now, motherfucker.
Yeah. I don't have room for them.
You're gonna have more room later in
Yeah.
the same fucking chopper.
It goes
It's
against
so dumb.
protocol. There's kids.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
Oh.
It is
Stupid.
It is 100% just to have that helicopter scene in the middle of it, and then still have more movie left.
Yeah.
And I hate it. It's so dumb.
Get rid of that helicopter as much as it is my like favorite scene in the movie besides the opening. Get rid of that cuz plot wise it makes no sense.
None. It's so dumb.
Their goal should be from the beginning, from them leaving the military base to go to the stadium.
Yep.
That should be
100% have been the rendezvous point to start with.
Yep.
If you wanted to cut back to the chopper guy intermittently, just to let us know he was still there, off doing his own thing, maybe taking heads off with his chopper blades.
Yeah, like
cool.
he's got to land in the stadium and has to kill a bunch of infected there.
Yeah. Just there's a way you could have still had that scene and made it actually make sense with the plot.
And give
but
him
this
an
movie
actual
doesn't do that.
character of like doing something cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, they end
How
up
do
in
you
this
feel
tunnel
about-
and they get this awful POV where Rose Byrne has a like
The rifle.
has the
scope.
rifle with the scope and it's like night vision and it's almost shot like found footage. Like they almost wanted to make this found
It's
footage.
totally
Again,
shot found
like
footage.
someone pitched, "Hey, what if it was found footage?" Then make the entire movie found footage. Like, what are we doing? It looks horrible. And
Yeah.
guess who's down in the tunnel with them? After
Yeah.
surviving the city being
The
blown
snipers?
up, being shot
snipers?
at, blown up,
Firebombs.
and then the gas.
And he's somehow down in the
Their
tunnels.
dad is
dad.
down there.
He
What?
beats Rose Byrne's face in with the butt of the rifle, and you see it through the scope somehow. It's a really weird, confusing scene that I'm like, I get
Because
what you
Imogen
were
Poots
trying
ends
to
up
do.
with the rifle at one point.
Yeah. And it's like, I get what you were trying to do. It's a cool concept on paper. You've executed it terribly. Um, and it's such a dumb way for her character to go. Like, the best part of it is when Imogen Poots comes back and gets the rifle, and you see like her face busted open with kind of like her tongue lolling out and her eyes are wide open. I'm like, oh, that's pretty gruesome. But it's like a quick shot, and it's like, well, I don't know. Like, it's just,
You feel nothing because you don't know who
yeah,
she is? Yeah.
yeah. Like, it's one of those things where this movie doesn't invest in any of its characters, so how are you as an audience member going to invest in any of these characters?
And then you get the final with the finale with Imogen Poots saves her brother from getting attacked by her dad. The dad
Yeah.
ends up infecting the little brother.
Yep.
She ends up taking the shot, killing the dad.
Yep. And then they go to the stadium, and the helicopter pilot, who previously was like, "I'm not taking kids on; they're not authorized," is all of a sudden just like, "Yeah, sure, hop on my plane or hop on my chopper."
Meanwhile, the kid's infected. Yeah.
The kid's infected, and then it goes 28 days later, and you're like, "Oh boy, what's gonna happen?" And there's an outbreak in Paris. End of movie. What the fuck? Like, so you're telling me that this guy just picked two kids, one of whom was infected, on a chopper, and flew them out wherever they wanted to go, because you know they didn't go back to the complex or they'd still be there, and the kid would be under supervision. Like, so he just dropped him off in, like, what, Paris?
I've always wanted to see the Eiffel Tower. Let's go to Paris.
So
Yeah, it doesn't make
stupid.
any sense. The whole movie kind of just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Honestly, like, the plot should be the military knows about the mom and that she might have some sort of immunity to this. And that
Mm-hmm.
when she dies, the kids might also have that. So it should
Yep.
be a mission of the helicopter pilot and Jeremy Renner. Save these kids. Get these kids
Yeah.
out of there and bring them back to base.
Yep.
It's not
That's what
that
it should
hard.
be. No.
Should have been the movie. Instead, we get, I don't know, 5 different plots in this. 0 characters, very convoluted stuff. Sam, what the hell are you giving 28 weeks later? Because I'm giving this 2.5.
Okay.
I was at
So-
3. Again, I'm bumping it down after this conversation. It's just not very good. I think there's fun action set pieces in this. There's fun moments.
Yeah.
Like decent moments. I think the opening 15 minutes is incredible. But after that, it's generic action zombie movie.
Do you ever have like a post movie high, even when it's not that great of a movie, where you're like, I liked a lot of that, and you rate it like way higher, and then the more you think about it, the more it goes down?
Yeah,
you ever
this
have that?
movie. Yeah.
That's what I had here. I originally rated this 4 stars, even though I hated the
4
ending.
stars.
Like, yeah, I think this movie I was like, it wasn't bad until the final 20 minutes. The final 20 minutes is where it really shits the bed. And like, I agree. I think that's like really where it gets bad.
It's rough. Yeah.
Like, but then the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, no, I just really like that opening. There was a lot of stuff in the later half of that movie. Like, it wasn't just the last 20 minutes. And I put it down to 3 stars. And just yesterday, I was sitting there thinking about it, and I'm like, I did not like this movie, and I bumped it down to 2 stars. And that's where I'm staying with it. It's not a good movie. I can't believe, like, that opening is just so goddamn good that I think that's why I gave it the 4 star. Because I'm like, that's iconic. Like, it's so, but like, that's all it has. It's like Ghost Ship, where after the opening scene that everybody knows, this movie is just like nothing. And you know what? If I watch Ghost Ship today, I'd give it 2 stars. So So 2 stars is what 27 or 28 weeks later gets. Yeah, not a fan.
Yeah, not a fan.
So
I am excited though for 28 years later. I
Yep.
am sad that they're skipping months.
Yeah, what the hell?
But that's all right.
I thought that too. And then, you do like 28 seasons later, and then you do 28 years later, and then you do
28 full moons later. And
yeah. I don't know. I'm excited to see the new one.
Did you watch the prequel to all these 28 days before these?
Oh, yeah, the one with Sandra Bullock that doesn't
the rehab one.
So the funny thing was my initial idea for doing plots was to write down the plot to 28 days.
Previously on. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad we revisited both of these, especially Days.
Same.
Iconic, incredible movie. Weeks exist, but I'm excited to see Danny Boyle and Alex Garland back with 28 years. I think it's gonna be good. Yep. Been hearing good things so far.
I'm really excited. The trailers had me hooked. I was in from the moment that first trailer dropped online. I'm like, oh, this looks straight up fucking ominous. I am in. So,
especially with what Alex Garland's been putting out lately, where I watched the trailer for Civil War, and I'm like, I'm not even gonna watch that.
Have you seen the final scene of Civil War?
No.
Look up the final scene of Civil War. Even out of context of the rest of the movie, that scene hits so goddamn hard. Like, I watched it.
I don't want to.
And my jaw hit the floor, dude. Like, oh.
Don't want
Nick
to.
Nick Offerman. All right. Yeah, that was 28 weeks later. And now it's time. What?
You know what 28 years later is on the cover of?
Segue. It's on the cover of Fangoria. Fangoria for over 40 years has been the leading source in horror for all things spooky, horrific, and macabre. The famed magazine is back with a vengeance each quarter with a brand new issue of Fangoria magazine featuring interviews, retrospectives, and insight into the world of horror, including pieces on 28 years later. We have an exclusive offer for our listeners to save 20% off of their subscription to the magazine or the latest Fango merch, or anything on the Fango store. You can visit shop.fangoria.com/screamsfromthebasement and use the promo code screamsfromthebasement at checkout. Hit the QR code below if you're watching this on YouTube. Special thanks to Fangoria for helping support the show. Again, that is shop.fangoria.com/screamsfromthebasement with promo code screamsfromthebasement at checkout to save 20% off your order. Casey, what have you been doing lately?
I have a pretty quick what have I been doing lately. I only got 3 movies on here to talk about. And one of them I'll be very brief. We spoke to the director of Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, Adam Marcus, last week on the podcast. So if you want to hear our full thoughts on that movie, just go back and listen to that hour-long conversation with Adam. Incredible conversation. Maybe my favorite interview we've ever done. We've been getting some awesome feedback from our listeners on that as well. So please go give that episode some love if you haven't had a chance to watch or listen to it yet.
He was also kind enough to let me gush about Texas Chainsaw 3D, which is a movie that he has pretty much disowned. But I had to bring up because we had the writer of it on the show.
Do your thing, cuz.
Do your thing, cuz. Adam Marcus was a true joy to have on the podcast. And definitely check out that episode if you haven't.
Yeah, and we dropped that on Friday the 13th. And speaking of Friday the 13th, we played Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, at the State Theater for Late Night at the State, the 7th installment of the Friday the 13th series at the State Theater. This was so much fun. One of my favorites of this series. Goddamn, fuck the MPAA, though.
Oh yeah. This
Oh,
movie got cut to shit. It's
cut
so
to
horrible.
shit. It is. It's one of my
Which is
favorites of the series, but god damn, do they just butcher so much of this movie. It is. It sucks
people
that there
people talk
isn't
a
an uncut version of this movie out there.
well, yeah, and like most of the footage is just gone now. So like it's so sad. I know a lot of people talk about part 5 being the one that was hacked up by the MPAA, but I'm like, I mean, there are cuts definitely, but this one got so much worse. Like this one is Maria at one point during the screening leaned over and she went, "Is this a PG-13 movie?" And I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the fuck
You
they
have
were doing.
John
Like,
Carl Buechler doing the special effects, one of the greatest
yeah.
special effects artists of all time. And they
Yep.
just cut it out of the movie. It's insane. I don't know. I love this movie, though.
Yeah.
I don't think the flaws are anything necessarily with the movie itself, more so on the MPAA just, for
Yeah.
some reason, attacking this movie and making them cut everything out of it.
Yep.
All right,
All
and
right.
then last but not least, watched The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. He was celebrating the drive-in on this episode. Watched Earth versus the Spider, or the Spider, or just the Spider, or I think it had another name too.
Yeah, it was some. There was another like Earth one. I think I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't know. It was a '50s atomic monster movie with a giant spider, with the oldest cast of 17-year-olds you will ever find in any movie ever.
I'm telling you right now, as someone who watches a fuck ton of '50s movies, that is one of the younger
Okay, there
teenage
was one
casts I've
guy,
seen in it.
one guy
But there was
especially.
one guy that was definitely like there. No, there were two because there was one guy that definitely
The
was
best the
40.
best friend that they borrow the car from, who looked
Yeah,
like he was 37 years old and had two
and then
kids.
there was and then there was one guy that had like full on male pattern baldness. I'm like, no 18-year-old goes that bald. Like I was friends with a guy who started balding in high school. He was not that bald by the time he graduated.
I had a friend that had receding hairline since he was like 16.
Yeah, yeah,
But no,
yeah,
not a
but
bald spot like that guy.
not like yeah.
I don't know.
Uh,
It was a fun atomic 50s movie,
yeah.
but better presented because of Joe Bob.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I had fun with it. That's not my subgenre. I know it's yours. We should probably cover
Yeah.
some of those on the podcast because they are blind spots. Because I've never seen The Blob. I've never seen
We
Tarantula.
we have to do a Blob episode. I'll be honest. I think Earth versus the
Godzilla's
Spider.
probably like the only big one I've seen from that era.
Yeah, fucking fantastic. I I loved Earth versus the Spider, and like it's a flawed movie for sure. I liked it more than I liked Tarantula though, and I think part of it was like this movie's goofy, like in a way that's like it's kind of just downright silly at times, and I feel like Tarantula is played a lot more seriously, a little more earnestly than this one is, where this one kind of feels campier. And I agree. I think the Joe Bob presentation definitely knocked it up a notch for me. Um, Particularly because like it was such an informative and heartfelt episode. Like I was weirdly emotional at certain times and like learning about the history of the drive-in, why it was a thing, how it was like a way for oppressed people and minorities to go see movies just with everybody instead of having to go to like segregated sections and stuff. Like all that stuff was very fascinating to me. And I had no idea. Like that was something like I actually learned something on the last drive-in. And it was entertaining to boot. Like it was really, really fun. I think this isn't the best movie that Joe Bob's ever played, but this was one of the best episodes that he's
Yeah,
ever done.
I
So
would
if
love to
you're,
see him. Honestly, I would love if their seasons like covered a certain topic and he could go even
yeah,
deeper, like do a whole season on drive-in movies.
almost like what Evolution of Horror does, where like each season of that pod is a certain subgenre or some kind of topic. I agree. I think that would be so cool. I so my thing is if you haven't watched The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, if you like don't have Shudder and you're thinking about getting it, or you want it, or you want to jump in, honestly, I'd say that like his Earth versus the Spider episode is the episode to start on.
I did that. Dakota watched Joe Bob for the
Yeah,
first time ever, watching that movie, and afterwards he's like, "Yeah, the movie is fine, but I like that
but
guy. I like Joe Bob, and I like
yeah,
the show." Yeah.
I used to tell people. I used to tell people Chopping Mall, because I love his episode that he shows Chopping Mall. He brings on Kelly Maroney. He has a he has a whole deranged monologue about sex robots. Like, it's a fantastic episode. But this one might beat it. And yeah, so I stayed up and watched the second feature of that, which I hadn't seen because when you guys all went and saw it at the state, that was the week that I had COVID so bad that I couldn't get out of bed. um, I watched Dark Match with Joe Bob and Darcy. And they brought the director out for a couple of segments in between movies. And he had some kind of fun insight into the filmmaking. I really liked this movie. It didn't blow my mind or anything, but it was a really fun late night movie that like could have gone a little harder in certain areas. Could have maybe had a little bit more levity, a little more. Like, I don't know. It was missing just a little something, but I really, really enjoyed it for what it was.
Needed to be a little more campy for me. That was my thing.
Yeah,
Wrestling's
I think that's
campy.
the thing.
This wrestling horror movie should be a little campy.
They played it just a little bit too straight, didn't they? Like it was just a little. Yeah, yeah, I agree. But it was fun, and it was great to watch it with Joe Bob and Darcy. Darcy picked it for her birthday. So it was a fun episode all around. It was a great double feature. But yeah, if you're looking for a Last Drive-In starting place, Earth versus the Spider is a perfect one.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, like you said, we watched Friday the 13th 7 at the state. Just because shout out to Brian Clark, who listens to the show and Attack of the Killer podcast. Woo woo. He made mention that he was happy that I was getting into kung fu movies after I talked about Iron Monkey on my last doobie doing. So I watched another kung fu movie and I had to talk about it on the pod. I watched Jackie Chan's Police Story from 1985. Have you seen this movie?
No. I think the only Jackie Chan movie besides like his American movies is Rumble in the Bronx, which is an American movie, but
I have that on VHS. I have not watched that
it's
yet,
so
but
good.
I need to.
It's so good.
Police Story is a fuck ton of fun, dude. The opening set piece is amazing. It is like it's set on this like village on a hill that's got like all these sheds and shacks and stuff, and they're trying to find this, like they're doing this massive sting on a drug lord. The sting goes terribly wrong. There are stunts galore in this fucking thing, like the stunt work, the kung fu, like fantastic. And it's so funny and so weird and offbeat. Like it kind of feels like Jackie Chan doing his, I mean, Lethal Weapon came after this, but it's very much like in the vein of those cop movies of the 80s, but like with Jackie Chan's kind of signature voice behind it. And I loved it. I kind of want to watch the second one now because the first one was so much fun. Yeah, I really recommend Police Story if you're looking for a good like martial arts action flick. It's great. It's great. And that's all I've been doing. So,
That's all we've been doobie doing. We're doobie
that's all we've
done.
been doing. Yeah.
Well, thank you all for listening to the show. Thank you all for coming into the basement with us here at Screens from the Basement. Sam, where can the people find us if they want to follow us online?
You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and TikTok. We're putting out content on all of those platforms, and you can keep up to date with all of our episodes and what we've been doing, all of our events that we plan.
Our lineup for next month, which is already shaping up to be huge.
Yeah.
Just to leave a little tease.
We have a guest booked for next, like, cross my fingers if it happens, like, you know, it's happening.
It's booked. It's booked. We haven't
It's
recorded
booked.
it, but it's booked. It's booked.
But yeah, we're pretty fucking pumped for it. It's been hard for me to keep my mouth shut about it, so I'll stop talking about it now. Just be on the lookout for our episode lineup drop. And if you don't want to miss an episode, subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Apple, Spotify, YouTube. If you like the video portion, we're on all of those. Casey, if they want to support the show, how can they do that?
Hey, they can do so by heading over to tpublic.com or using the link in the episode description to buy our TeePublic store merchandise. And right now, I believe it's through the 24th, 40% off on the TeePublic store. If you want to get a t-shirt, we're always going to shout out those deals because we know, like, hell, you got to get a deal. Every time you got to get a deal. And 40% off, one of the biggest sales of the summer. Out now, TeePublic. Use the link in the episode description. Tons of new designs up on our TeePublic store as well. Also, join our Patreon. Patreon.com/Screens from the Basement. Again, link in the episode description. You get some awesome bonus content each and every month over on the Patreon. You get monthly bonus episodes. You get Sam's written reviews. You get my video vlogs from the home office. You get exclusive artwork. You get so much stuff. You get a monthly newsletter. You get all the fun stuff. So sign up today, patreon.com/Screens in the Basement. Every time you guys either make a purchase on our TeePublic store or subscribe to the Patreon, you help us do what we do here. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, we don't get paid to do this. So that is one way for you guys to support what we do and help keep our nightmares alive.
Casey, we did a show. Everybody, we appreciate you tuning in. So thank you. And as always, sweet screams.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.